Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all, take Xyzal. At night.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the founder of Food Truck Training Group on Facebook, co-owner with my beautiful wife, Melissa, of our own food truck. It's called Food Truck 101, and I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today I'm going to be talking about my visit to Orlando, Florida, which you guys have already heard about my attendance with the Food Truck Owners Expo, but I'm going to tell you what happened the evening before we were headed out. But before we get into that, I want to thank Table Needs for sponsoring this episode of the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. Table Needs is a full-service POS system capable of handling your busy food truck, cash, credit card, and reporting needs. So for more information about Table Needs, just check out the link in the description. So now let's talk about Orlando, Florida. You guys know I went down there a couple of weeks ago to attend the Florida Restaurant Association show, the Pizza Expo, and then, of course, I gave several classes at the Food Truck Owners Expo. On the Wednesday, when we broke down everything and loaded it all up into the pickup truck, Melissa and I had the opportunity to go eat at a local food truck. The owner of the food truck had attended a couple of my classes and spent a little bit of time talking to Melissa because I had so many people around me all day long that he wasn't able to talk to me more than just a couple of minutes. But he talked to Melissa at length, explained where he was located, gave a link to his menu, and then gave his number so that they could kind of stay in touch. His operation is a food truck in the middle of Orlando. It's in the downtown area, but not where the big high rises and all the fancy stuff is. It's more in a neighborhood area, but it's also a commercial area, so there's lots of businesses there. Not only restaurants and bars and obviously food trucks, but then other kind of businesses as well. And it's surrounded by a lot of apartment buildings. So a very good place to set up, and it creates a very nice, quaint area. So Melissa checked out his menu. He doesn't open until later in the evening, because again, he's in the nightlife of Orlando in this particular area. So he's going to be open till 2, 3 in the morning. Melissa checked out his menu. I checked it out, and we said, we're going to go. So as soon as he texted Melissa and said, hey, we're open, we went ahead and drove up there. It was a good probably 40 minutes from where we were staying. We were in Kissimmee, actually, and he was north in Orlando. So it took us a little bit of time to get there. But when we did get there, we found a parking place that was about a half a block from his food truck. We had to park on the street, and it was a parallel parking area. So that was kind of different for us. We're not used to having to park on the street. But we walk up to his food truck, and it's in a little court that's set up little bit of parking behind the food truck. There was a food truck across from him or beside him, and then his food truck. And then as we had a conversation with him, he explained that there normally was a food truck that sat in front of him, but they were off doing some type of event that night. So as we approached the food truck, we noticed that it's got some music playing, and it's happy music, and it's an interesting choice. As we heard the songs change, it went from kind of dance music into jazz music into what would be considered maybe 50s, 60s music, but it was all very happy, upbeat music. The truck next to him had a few guests. They were already seated and eating, and then he had a couple of picnic tables. He had a stand-up kiosk for people to place their order, and he greeted everybody. So he was actually off the food truck, like I recommend, and talking to people. He had 2 employees, at least 2 employees that we could see, and they were doing a lot of communication back and forth through their open window. There was a couple of people in front of us that he went through and explained the menu, explained to them how to order, and gave them a couple of recommendations. And he came and talked to us. He was very happy to see us there and was telling us he was going to give us a couple of things to sample, but feel free to order whatever we wanted. And we did. I ordered a burger because I'm a burger kind of person, and Melissa ordered, and I can't even remember what she ordered now, but she ordered something that she was really interested in when she checked out his menu. And then he gave us a couple of sampling things. What I noticed was he gave us both an order of a side item. One was a straight cut French fry. The other was I believe a curly fry with some sauces and stuff on it. Very attractive presentation and amazingly good food. So we sat down and wait as they're cooking our food, and he would talk to us in between other people walking up. As soon as somebody would walk up, he was perfect at attention and made sure that those people were greeted and talked to, and he talked to everybody and explained the menu, explained how to place the order, and he treated them exactly the same way he treated us. So we weren't given special treatment. That was his normal way to operate. The one thing that I did notice is that anybody that was a first timer, he gave them a side. And I can't recall what they called it, but it was some type of communication that they had between him outside the truck to the folks inside the truck. And he would call them first timers. And I can't remember again what the product was, but I thought that was really neat because he's getting them to sample more of his food beyond what they ordered. And of course, he did check with everybody, do you have any allergies? And he asked us that, and I'm like, well, what we ordered wouldn't have anything that would make an allergic reaction. But he did bring out a shrimp skewer for us to try. The shrimp was perfectly cooked, very well seasoned. It was a very good bite. Melissa was very impressed because she loves seafood. So I'm telling you all of this because the guy is very impressive, and he's quite busy. We were there probably the better part of an hour, and he really stayed busy. And this was early in his evening. He explained to us that he typically closes around 1 or 2 in the morning after all the bars start to shut down. And he says, I stay busy. He says, I do more of my business after midnight than anything. And that's a pretty neat problem to have. You want to stay busy up until you close. I noticed that his food truck and the one beside us stayed fairly steady. Nothing that would make somebody be super impressed, saying, I have a line of 60 people deep. They didn't have that. But they constantly had people at both food trucks. So it's a good location. And they both seem to be doing fairly well. What impressed me about this one truck, the name of the truck is Maxstro's, in case you live in Orlando, and Max is the owner. What impressed me is that they were perfect kitchen responses. If you've worked in a restaurant that has any kind of formality about it, when somebody says something, there's always a response. There's the typical response of heard, which means that the person that says heard has heard whatever happened or was said prior to that. So they are acknowledging whatever was said to them. I came out of a restaurant where we said thank you when someone said, I need 2 orders of fries. Thank you. 2 orders of fries. And you would repeat back. So you always had that chatter, but it was always focused on taking care of the guest. It wasn't, what am I doing after work? And, guess what this? And look at this game I'm playing. It was always concentrated on, we're going to get the guest taken care of. So it was very formal. In his case, and this is something that you see a lot on Food Network, he was standing outside talking to us. There was no guest for him to take care of, so he's explaining a little bit about his menu and how he operates. And one of his employees came out and had a fork in his hand, and the fork was dipped in some type of sauce. And he wanted him to taste it to make sure it was acceptable to sell. And he grabs the fork and tastes it, and he goes, oh, this is perfect. Thank you, chef. And the response back was, thank you, chef. And he went back inside, and obviously they were serving that the rest of the evening. I noticed that conversation or those responses every time one or the other was talking to each other. Again, the owner, Max, was off the food truck. He was handling guests as they stepped up. So what I found interesting is they had that response all night long. Thank you, chef. Yes, chef. He even said that to us. And Melissa corrected him. I'm not a chef. And I told him, I can reproduce any recipe, but I'm not a creator. That's what a chef is. But it's so ingrained in him to show that respect to people. And his team was doing it. They were all doing it to each other. It made it feel very formal, but at the same time, it was exciting to hear that communication be done in a sincere way. So in any case, we had an awesome time there visiting at Maxstro's. Really, really good food. If you're in Orlando, go there. If you're visiting Orlando, take the time to go there. It's an amazing food truck. You're going to enjoy the experience. The food that he put out, I would consider to be high-end restaurant quality food. It is something that you need to go check out. Now, there are other food trucks that I call my favorites, but this one jumped to the very top of the list. And it jumped to the top of the list for a lot of different reasons. One was the service was on point. He was off the truck. He was talking to everybody. He was doing everything that I tell people to do, he was doing. And I have no idea if he's doing it on his own, if he's read my books, if he's heard my podcast, no idea. I just know that he's doing it. It's like, this is so great to see somebody taking their job seriously and being happy about it. He was doing an awesome job. So now let me give you the other side of this story, the negative side. A couple days ago, I was talking with one of the organizers of the Food Truck Owners Expo, and she said, I got a question for you. And I'm used to her saying that because she texts me all the time asking me questions. And I said, okay, go ahead, shoot. She forwarded to me a message from Max. And apparently in Orlando, Florida, they decided that it is no longer acceptable for a food truck in that particular area where he sets up to be open past midnight. And they're citing quote unquote safety concerns. Now I want you to think about that. The food truck is only serving people that are already out. The food truck would not be there if there were not people out walking on the street. Food trucks do not attract people. But some restaurant owners, some bar owners, some nitwit somewhere within the Orlando hierarchy of officials, but some nitwit that is some politician within the city council or whatever structure they have in Orlando, Florida, thinks that food trucks are causing a safety issue. Now, I want you to think about that. Food trucks do not attract people. Food trucks feed people that are already there, which means those people that Maxtro's food truck is taking care of are already downtown, not because Max is there, but because there's a bar, because there's other things for them to do beyond midnight. So the safety issue is not created by the food truck. The safety issue is created by the attraction that's brought to people to that area to begin with. So there's probably some restaurant that's got their feelings hurt because they're not as busy as these good food trucks are. There's some nitwit politician that's in the back pocket of somebody that owns a business down there and, oh my God, your food trucks are hurting me. So they put up this safety issue problem. If safety was the issue, they would tell the bars to close at midnight. They would end the attraction of what's bringing people down there. Because I can tell you what, people go to a bar and they even have a name for this. It's called a bar fight. You don't hear a food truck fight. People go to a bar and get drunk and then decide to show their rear ends, and they do things that are not safe. And it's generated from what? Alcohol. But these idiotic politicians that lack the intelligence to get a real job, all they did was win a popularity contest and think, I'm going to fix things. No, you're not. You're going to do whatever the constituents tell you to do so that you can get reelected again. So whoever's got the most money says, well, I'm going to contribute $1 million to your reelection campaign if you'll vote this way. And they vote that way. The food trucks that are in downtown Orlando or in downtown Louisville or anywhere else around the country are not a safety issue. It would be whatever is attracting the people, that the food trucks are just simply there to provide a service. If you have a safety issue that happens beyond midnight, you might want to close the businesses that are attracting the people. And it's not a food truck. Food trucks service people that are already there. Because food trucks are what? Mobile. They don't have to be there. So basically what this politician or this city council or the idiots that were in charge have done is chased away sales from the downtown community. And then they're blaming the food trucks because that's easy. You don't want to blame the property owner that's paying sales taxes and property taxes and all those kind of things. You want to blame that upstart food truck. So we have multiple problems in Orlando, Florida, the place where we want tourists to be, but we don't want them to enjoy themselves past midnight. We want you to just go and get drunk because we'll leave the bars open. We'll leave the tattoo parlors open, but we don't want anybody to eat past midnight. We want them to go into a fancy sit-down restaurant. They're afraid of food trucks, so they're going to blame a safety issue. If they really cared about safety, they would close what's causing the problems, which would be alcohol consumption. But no, we don't want to do that. So what I want you guys to get out of this is you can operate perfectly, but you'll have some idiot politician who is listening to those butt-hurt property owners. I can't make it because the food truck taking my business. And they whine and complain because they're incapable of actually fixing their own problems. I've said this many times, I'll say it again. And whatever stupid politician is out there that has enough intelligence to actually listen to this, which I doubt there's many, there is no food truck in the world that can impact a well-ran restaurant. None. They service two different types of people. The people that go out to eat and want to sit down in a restaurant, they're going out to sit down in a restaurant. They're not driving by a food truck going, oh my God, I think I'll eat there rather than sit down in luxury and have somebody wait on me. And it's the same with the food truck patrons. Somebody that's gone out to go to a food truck isn't swayed by, oh, look, there's a restaurant that had chairs. I think I'll go there. People don't do that. You get up, decide you're hungry, and you most likely know where you're going to go eat. And then nothing is going to change your mind. And if something does change your mind, that indicates that the original place you were going to go has problems. And now you're thinking, I will go eat here because I don't want to go sit in that place and wait on that slow service or wait on whatever the problem is. A well-run restaurant cannot be impacted by a well-ran food truck. It is impossible. The only people that think that's possible are already admitting that they have a problem with their restaurant and they're going to fail. And they want to blame the food truck because it's easier to blame somebody else than to look in the mirror and go, I know where the problem is. It's staring me in the face. So what I'm telling you to do, and yes, I'm telling you, if you own a food truck, you have got to be involved in your local community as far as the rules and regulations in the local, especially the local county or city governments, because there will always be some nut that has won the popularity contest that is going to listen to that poor, sad property owner. Those food trucks are hurting me. They got to go. And then they'll look for some way to skirt around the existing rules and regulations and laws in their city, county, or state to make those food truck owners go away. Florida passed a law a number of years ago that required every city and county to recognize the state-level license. They cannot add on a city or county food license. There are no additional hoops to jump through. So I can take my truck from Defuniak Springs, Florida, drive it down to Orlando and set up and operate. Don't have to tell the health department anything. But the local city, county can set up rules, what they call safety or policing. That's a way to make the local city and county feel like they have some authority over their own governance. And then the twisted politicians look for a way to take safety and then twist it around to make it so that, okay, food truck can't operate because safety issues. If you're really worried about safety, close down the bars. That's where you have a whole lot more fights, a whole lot more people being unsafe. But no, let's leave the bars open for 2, maybe even 3 hours past midnight, not selling food. So guess what? The people are now just drinking upon drinking and nothing to help absorb the alcohol, and then they're going to drive home. Stay focused on your business. And part of staying focused on your business is paying attention to what's going down at the city council or the county commission. And don't be surprised when they turn up a rule or regulation that tells you, hey, you can't open past midnight. A year from now, it'll be 10 o'clock. Hey, it's working so well. Let's do it to 10 o'clock. Once you start to give up a little bit of rights, they will take more of them away. So the idea is that you're aware of this stuff when it's in the voting stage, not in the, here's the notice, we decided to pass this last night and you can't stay open past midnight. We don't care that you got payroll to meet and these people now are effectively losing half of their wages. We don't care. You can just go somewhere else. Don't let a politician mess up your operations. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful, please consider subscribing. And if you really like what we do, you can show us some support. There's a link in the description to make that happen. Until next time, you guys have a profitable day.